This is Sandy Tankus for TOS50.com, the other side of 50. And I'm here this morning in New York with Rabbi Danny Allen. Good morning, Rabbi.
Good morning, Sandy. Nice to be here.
Thank you. It's nice to be with you. And Rabbi Allen is the executive director of ARTSR, and ARTSR is the Israel arm of the Reform movement. Right. I know that Rabbi Allen was recently on a trip with the President's Council, that's the Council of Presidents of Major Jewish Organizations. And Rabbi, can you give us an idea of what happened while you were in Israel on that trip?
Sure, Sandy. Nice to be with you this morning. The Council is the gathering of the presidents and senior leadership of about 50 of the major American Jewish organizations. It takes an annual trip to Israel in February because that's part of its responsibility in terms of discussing Israel issues. We were there for about 10 days. We spent many long hours with officials of the Israeli government, critics of the Israeli government, and in fact a side trip to see the King of Jordan in Amman. The major topic of concern in every conversation started with, ended with, or was the subject of Iran and what it means for Israel and for the entire Middle East, if not the world, of what is happening in Iran in terms of the development of nuclear weaponry.
So Jordan was as concerned as Israel, you would say?
I would say of the 45 minutes the king spent addressing us, 32 of them were about Iran. The others were about his eventual problems with his own government.
Well, that's certainly interesting. And I know that you issued a statement recently about Iran and Israel on behalf of ARTSR, and there are some people who have found that statement to be somewhat hawkish, and they were surprised that it came from the Reform movement. What do you have to say about that?
Well, the first thing is I think it's important to note that no movement is monolithic. No party is monolithic, and there are parts of every enterprise. Secondly, while as the Reform movement is generally a liberal enterprise, and certainly in a religiously liberal enterprise, we do have across the spectrum within our 900 congregations and 1.5 million people who have a variety of political opinions. So I don't think you can only ascribe one political opinion to the Reform movement. We have Republicans, we have Democrats, so we have a lot of people. As it pertains to this particular issue, what the statement said, and those of us who wrote it meant it to say, was first of all, Israel has to make its own defense decisions. It's a sovereign country. The President of the United States has affirmed that. Several presidents before President Obama have affirmed that. So that is the singularly most important piece of the statement. Secondly, Iran is a threat. Iran is not merely a threat to Israel. Iran is a threat to the world. Having a nuclear armed country which does not seem to abide by world standards of behavior, which is a huge supporter of terrorism, including the rockets now in Gaza, blowing up of the buildings of 9/11, the attempted assassination of the Saudi ambassador in the United States by an Iranian operative. We have dozens and dozens of examples of this being a state that supports, in its current regime, many, many forms of terror. That's a threat to America, and that's a threat to the way we live in Western civilization.
So all of that being said at this point, people who want to visit Israel, do you think that they should be comfortable going on that trip right now at this time in history?
Sure. I don't think you can let bad guys stop whatever it is you want to do. Are there some rockets at the moment in the south? Yes. Do I believe that they'll continue? No, I don't. In fact, I think as of this morning, there's a ceasefire that's been brokered by the new Egyptian government between Hamas in Gaza and the Israeli government. You can't make life fully safe. And I would venture to say that on an average day on a bus in Israel is at least as safe as driving on a bus in anywhere in the United States of America.
Well, that's good because I intend to go very soon.
Good.
Okay. And thank you so much for speaking to us today.
Glad to do it.